So in Verdict Watch, in a couple of cases today, one of them no longer watching. We got a chance to see it unfold. That's the case in Ohio versus Matheau Moore. Jury deliberating just under 3 hours. So let's take a look at that verdict.
The court will now announce the verdicts. Verdict on count 1. We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant Matheau L. Moore not guilty of murder as he stands charged in count 1 of the indictment dated the 26th of August 2022, signed by all 12 members of the panel. Verdict on count 2. We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant Matheau L. Moore not guilty of murder as he stands charged in count 2 of the indictment dated 26 August 2022 and signed in ink by all 12 members of the panel. Verdict on count 3. We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant Matheau Moore not guilty of felonious assault as he stands charged in count 3 of the indictment dated August 26, 2022, signed by all 12 members of the panel. Mr. Moore, I think from day one, everyone's wanted justice for your wife, Emily. And I've heard that phrase a lot, and I think everyone truly desires that. But I think the jury has also said justice for Emily is not injustice for you, and they have reaffirmed that. I will just formally say I am terminating the bond previously set in this case, and you will be discharged, and you are free to go.
So Judge Stephen Wolliver giving the good news to defendant Matheau Moore, and the lady to his left, the attorney that we've seen in action, not just in this case, but in the Dr. William Husel case as well, also a defense decision there. Diane Menashe joins us here live. So glad to see you. So happy to chat with you on what has to be a great day for you. We saw your reaction when the first verdict was announced. How does that feel?
Oh, it was just awesome. And, you know, the words I said to Matt were, I'm just so happy for him. I know what a long, 15 months it's been. And really the last 2 months, I've noticed just how much stress it's taking on Matt. And I'm just so happy for him. And I hope he can start, a new chapter for himself. And I know it'll be very difficult, but I'm hopeful for him that he can find some happiness again.
We were just talking about a moment ago when you were doing your closing, you were, kind of challenging his mental acuity, suggesting he's a little childlike and therefore could not have been the mastermind necessary to carry out this murder, suicide kind of situation. Did you struggle with whether to go that direction? How did that develop?
Well, I think you've all come to now know that I don't use notes, and so things come to me organically as I'm saying them. But just the mastermind theory that the state had really led with in their closing was just so ridiculous. And I didn't say it clearly out of disrespect for my client. I just said it it's just truly ludicrous, right? And there was so much of this case that was ludicrous. And it really was a case based on speculation and not based on circumstantial or direct evidence. And I had the opportunity to go back and speak to the jurors, and they completely agreed. So, I'm so appreciative for their time and effort, and that the system works. It's the second big time this year in a criminal case where I really felt that the system worked, and it's just a glorious thing.
Yeah, it's good that you got to talk to them. We learn so much when we get to talk to the jury.
For sure.
Surprising sometimes the things we learn. Did you feel a connection with them at some point? We all know, having practiced, how important it is to connect with that jury. Did you feel that from the start? Did it develop during the trial? What do you think?
I think it's sort of how I feel with jurors in cases that are of somewhat duration, is that, I kind of come out of the gate and everyone's come to know that I'm a little dramatic, and I'm not dramatic just to be dramatic. I have a purpose to it. And I really did feel as the days progressed that the jurors were really interested. When I stood up, they leaned in, the note taking increased. And I also felt like their questions were really responsive to the points that I was making, which indicated that there was a real connection there. I have to say that when I walked in the jury room, some of them clapped. There was obviously even more of a connection than I could realize and appreciate. So I'm very grateful for them as a group.
Yeah, there's nothing more important than the attorney being likable, because it spills over on the client so often. Okay, you know, you're a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun in the well of the court. So let's watch a little bit. I don't know if you've seen yourself do this before. You know, it can be kind of painful watching yourself on TV, believe me. But here is some of your closing argument.
The judge has read you the instructions. And there is an incredibly important instruction that reads, you cannot stack an inference upon an inference. You can draw from one set of facts an inference. From the same set of facts, you could draw another inference. But you cannot draw an inference and an inference. And so what does it mean? Literally, 6 days of testimony, 7 today. It is, did she commit suicide? No, she didn't commit suicide. So she must have been killed. Well, if she was killed, it's Matt Moore. That's inference stacking, not supported by the evidence. I literally, as I sat there listening to the closing, and I recognize that these arguments are arguments, and so I'm going to say this. 24 years, over 150 jury trials, I've never had a harder closing argument than this, because honestly, in most, I've got evidence to attack. This case is totally speculation. I watched that clock at 1:50 p.m. on August 25th, 2022. I remember telling you, jurors, that times were important in this case. And when I said that in voir dire, I had no idea how important. At 1:50 on August 25th, 2022, I heard, no, you heard, for the first time, that the state thinks Emily was killed in the woods. And if any one of you thought, when they heard that now he followed her on the walk, and you said to yourself, oh, so that's their theory? That's reasonable doubt. At 1:50 p.m., we heard that for the first time. Our justice system has to be better than this.
Yeah, that was such a great point. By the way, you really got to come out of your shell, you know, when you're in front of the jury. Don't hold back. That was such a good point about this new theory. In fact, it gives credence to your saying that, hey, I'm just listening and reacting to what I hear, because nobody had heard that theory before, that the crime scene was actually in the woods. Right. The holes that created for this jury was critical. Tell me, when you talked to the jury members, did you get some sense of what they were focused on? Did they think the suicide didn't work, but there wasn't enough evidence of murder? What were their thoughts?
Their thoughts actually were that some of them thought that it was a homicide, and also some of them thought it was a suicide. But they literally said there was zero evidence to connect him to either or any. And it was that inference stacking, right? And the state led in their closing that there were two options. One was suicide and one was homicide. And as you just saw, I really wanted to lead my closing with saying, no, there's actually the third option, right? Which is that he has nothing to do with either. And the jurors really, they just talked to me about, they found that to be true. And you know what was so great? There wasn't one juror in the room that even seemed to have needed to be convinced all that much. I know the total deliberation time was under 3 hours, but they were clear that they needed to sleep on it. They came back. They said they went through the timeline one more time, and they were sure of their verdicts.
Yeah, not unusual, and I like that. A jury says, let's just, let's go home, give it some thought, let it percolate a little bit. Hey, I do like in your closing how you snuck in there 24 years and 150 trials. I objected to that here, but it didn't go anywhere. But yeah, that can be effective too. I don't. Give me your thoughts on just the facts in this case that you were able to latch onto, or the lack of facts, perhaps. What was really the most important thing for you in telling the story to the jury?
I think it was, as I look at all my cases, I felt like I knew the facts better than the state did. I knew the facts better than their detectives and their experts. And really, I think for all of us defense attorneys, that's the key to our work, is to know the facts like no one else does in the room. And I think that was the key. There was a lot to really handle. to try to chip away at. And I really meant that in my closing, that it was hard because their case was speculation. You know, I didn't even have a bill of particulars. I didn't even know where they thought that he had killed her, or truly, even until we were in trial, when. I mean, I remember on the fourth day, I finally realized from the Detective Grubb's testimony that they were saying he killed her in between 9:45 and 1 a.m. And so to prep for a case of this severity and this, you know, duration, not knowing actually what even their theory is, it makes for really difficult work.
Yeah.
But, you know, then there's today, and it's worth all of those literally sleepless nights. And I'm just so happy for Matt.
Yeah, if you've never sat there waiting for the verdict, you just don't know. You can only speculate as to what it might mean, and we don't want to speculate. So what's next for your client and you?
You know, it's the year of the trial for me. I have so many trials. I have another murder case in Cleveland in 2 weeks. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm hoping to actually enjoy my birthday. And tonight, probably around 5, I'll shut down my laptop, and I hope I don't open it up till Monday. But I want to catch up on some sleep, and then I've got some more trials. And with respect to Matt, I really do hope that Matt can find some happiness again. And he suffered so much trauma with his son and Emily's death. And of course, being incarcerated as an innocent man, you know, as I've said before, I really can't even wrap my brain around that and the trauma that alone is, let alone the other circumstances that he's faced. So I hope today is day one of the rest of his life.
Well, we wish you the best. Happy birthday. Certainly a nice present. Somehow I don't think you're going to be all that relaxed over the next few days. I don't know. I just my read. And I will, let me say this. Bob Bianchi, who is a fellow host here, is so jealous right now because I believe he started a Facebook page in your honor, and his activity is borderline stalkerish. So just a warning. But we all appreciate your work.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
We appreciate your work. You're making the system work, and it's always a pleasure to see you in the well of the court. We hope we see you again soon.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
You bet. Have a great day and happy birthday. Okay, we're going to take a break here. Summers, that case, you know, he's representing himself. Does he have a fool for a client? We'll look at that when we come back.